Michael, my best guess for tonight is that we're going to talk about how broken the world is, because that seemed to be the theme in our little pre-show discussion. Everybody's like messed up in the brain. So I think we're going to talk about like traumatic brain injury or brain death, but you're still walking or something like that.
Speaking of traumatic brain injury, it was 27 years ago today I was hit by a car.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
It's all so clear now.
And Michelle, coincidentally, 27 years ago today, Michelle had her second daughter.
Well, there you go. Happy birthday, Michelle's second daughter. Alrighty. He's Mike, I'm Dan, and we are very much in the blind. It's In the Blind with Mike and Dan, and Beth is here too to torture us, and that's the whole point of this show. If you're new here, it's named...
Then the part where Michelle was just asking why I was dancing right now. She can't hear anything, but she sees me just dancing in my chair.
Oh, it's totally danceable music.
Yeah, I mean that is a bop. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Mm-hmm. That and the true false round are the real reasons that people want to be here for sure.
Yes.
And we put one at the beginning and we put the other at the end so that you'll stay for the middle. See, it's all structured appropriately. It's all with intention.
Yes.
All right. So anyways, if you're new here, here's what we do. We have no idea what we're going to talk about. That's why it's called In the Blind. But Beth is going to give us two topics. So we get 20 minutes each for those topics, and then a true false round after, which is all sorts of fun. So be sure to stick around for that. Sweetheart, how will you be torturing us this evening?
Well, you'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's time.
Oh, are you ready?
No.
No, okay.
That's the whole point. Like,
okay.
Are we just going to sit around and chat for another 15 minutes
we'll just continue our pre-show. And
anyways.
It's a 2-hour version of In the Blind.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask a favor, as much as both of you can, as I read through the prompt for your first cold topic, that you try to keep the moaning and groaning and whatnot at least a little. At least.
Okay, I got it out of my system.
Didn't we have this discussion?
Ready?
No.
When most people hear the phrase conspiracy theory, there's an almost automatic reaction. It usually gets lumped into the category of something fringe, exaggerated, or already debunked. And to be fair, a lot of conspiracy theories do fall apart under scrutiny. They rely on weak evidence, assumptions, or connecting dots that don't actually connect. But every once in a while, something that was dismissed as a conspiracy theory turns out to have at least some basis in reality. And that's where things get complicated. Because if even a small number of those cases turn out to be true, then it raises a bigger question about how we decide what to trust in the first place. Is it reasonable to stay skeptical? Or does that open the door to questioning everything? Because once you accept that some conspiracies have been real, it becomes a lot harder to draw a clear line between skepticism and suspicion. So it raises the question, if conspiracies sometimes turn out to be true, how do we decide what deserves to be taken seriously and what doesn't? And maybe even more importantly, what does that do to our ability to trust anything at all?
All right, Michael, do you want to get started with a good 5 or so minute rant on chemtrails and stuff?
Well, I think we can just sum this up by some things just sound too stupid. But beyond that, some things are just not within the boundaries of physics or science. And those things, chemtrails, geoengineering, whatever, not cloud seeding. That's a real thing. Although used a lot less than people think it is because it requires specific conditions to work. But yeah, it's one of those that's one of those conspiracies that is stupid because it does not pass the basics of science physics. It's one of those things that we were talking in the pre-show about stuff we've heard about for 30 years. That's another thing I've heard about for 30 years. And it's been debunked time and time again. And it's not there's a lot of bad conspiracy theories, but some things that sound plausible, at least I'm willing to entertain. There's a lot of things that I think have some root in reality about, what really happened to JFK. I mean, it's not as simple as somebody in a book depository shot him. It's a lot more, it's a lot deeper than that. There's conspiracies around, well, obviously, I don't know. I always mention the World War II, that we let the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor. I fully believe that. And then there's been other things throughout history that at least have some basis in reality. Some things just don't pass the smell test, Dan. I guess that's my point.
No, some things don't, but some things, to Beth's question, if true, how do we decide if some are true, how do we decide what's worth believing? And you're right, some things just flat don't pass a smell test, like the whole chemtrails thing. But there are some things that there's just enough weirdness that it makes you at least wonder. One of my biggest ones is the moon, for example. The moon makes no sense. There's so many things about it that don't make any sense. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories around it. Did we actually go there? Is the thing hollow? Is it a spaceship? Why is it so close? Why is its orbit just so exacting and all this kind of stuff? And, for me, as that one as an example, there are some things where there's just enough weirdness around it that it at least gives you pause. Yeah, that's weird. I want to know more.
I think it's weird that, since you're talking about the moon, that there's all sorts of evidence from prior civilizations that reference the time before the moon.
Yeah. That is true as well.
That is very weird.
Yeah. There's ancient cultures that have references to when the moon showed up.
Well,
what's that all about?
Yeah, and the thing about a lot of these conspiracy theories is that we, as people, we don't just like to say, I don't know. We like to fill in the gaps. Yeah. And we like to come up with answers to things, even if we don't know. And sometimes we just let the imaginations run wild, and that's how we come up with a theory as to what happened. There's a lot of things that we're probably never going to totally know. Now, that said, things like aliens, I know that there are people that don't believe that it's possible for aliens to exist. And I would say that's silly. In a, for all intents and purposes, infinite universe, the idea that there's no other life out there seems incalculably impossible. It just doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I also don't have a logical, and the other thing is I don't have a logical explanation for all the UFOs. And the fact is, the government has even kind of come out and said, yeah, we've encountered a lot of UFOs. We've run into some extraterrestrial stuff, and that was just so casually thrown out there. That that's one of those things that's kind of true. Now, how true it is, who knows? It's government. We don't know. But again, there's a lot there. Now, there's some things we just can't answer, and that doesn't mean that there's a conspiracy. It just means that we don't have the means to be able to answer the question. But that doesn't stop people from thinking that there's something nefarious.
Well, yeah, I think that again, kind of to Beth's point in the lead-in, there's some things that we've seen over time where everybody's like, oh, this is a conspiracy. This never really happened. And then it's declassified and yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at a lot of the CIA operations, for example,
Right.
where like deny, 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 deny. Yeah, we did those things. And crazy stuff too. I mean, well, some people would call it crazy. I guess it's up to you as to whether or not you think it's crazy. But like remote viewing and stuff like that, everybody poo-pooed that forever. No, they've actually worked on that. That's been declassified. That's things they've been trying to make work.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
That
and
was Stargate, right?
yeah.
But there's enough of that stuff that I think it gives everybody the license now to just immediately jump to, you know, these things are being hidden from us because there's enough proof that it's been done in the past.
Well, not only that, but it's one of those things that it's always interesting. You know, it's what gets more attention, you know, on TV or in social media. I mean, obviously the more sensational, the more attention it's going to get. And so there's always this rush to get out there and come up with a conspiracy theory. Sometimes you don't even have to believe it. It's just done for the engagement, but then some people do believe it. And so some of these things just grow legs on their own. Especially nowadays, because everybody has access to computer, everybody has access to making videos basically and uploading stuff on YouTube. And you can, again, as Beth said, connect the dots that aren't even there, but you know, it doesn't stop people from doing it, or maybe even stretching the truth, or just making up stuff, or finding sources that aren't credible, but they use them as credible, or whatever. And there's a whole corner of the world, a whole corner of the internet that's just reserved for all of that. I mean, if it weren't for conspiracies, crazy ass Alex Jones and some of these other guys would have never had a career. That have been failed talk show hosts, 25 years ago. They would have never gone anywhere. But because they found a niche and they can go out there and yell about gay frogs, they are, I would say they made money. Now, Alex Jones kind of broke because, he took it a little too far and got sued for defamation and lost like $1 billion. But other than that, there is a whole cottage industry of conspiracy theorists. And how do you tell what's false? Well, usually if they're saying it, it is. But I would say, I'll say this, though. The whole, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Once in a while, these guys are going to hit on something that is true. And that's the thing, too, is how you rope people into them is you bring up the true stuff. And you get people saying, yeah, of course that happened. And then what you do is it's the old car salesman technique, and then you just keep them saying yes. And then you rope them into some other conspiracy that either you just made up or that's widely made up. And that's how these things just keep going.
Yeah. But there's some weird here, though. I was just thinking about this while you were talking, Mike. So we have some conspiracy theories, and people hold them so true, but then at the same time almost ignore it. Example, a few days ago, we sent a group of astronauts around the moon. Nobody cared. But the moon, in and of itself, with the Apollo missions and with the fact that if you drop something on it, it rings like a bell, which is fact, it actually does. There's all this weird there. And nobody gave a crap about this mission. It was never front page news. It was never overly talked about, just, quick little spots on the news here and there. It did not garner attention. And that in and of itself is odd and almost a conspiracy theory on its own. Because how is it that something that has been so debated and so doubted for so long, and here's something happening that would prove or disprove or whatever, gets no attention? And there was this weird, and I mentioned this, I think, on the pre-show for TCF 1.2. There was this weird post on X from NASA, where they said that Artemis 2 is going to be the first ever humans to lay eyes on the dark side of the moon. completely forgetting about the Apollo missions that orbited around the dark side of the moon. So that even fueled into the conspiracy theory, and nobody cared. I'm to the point where, and I don't know if we're just flooded with so much of this, we're exhausted from it or what, but it wouldn't surprise me. Trump's talking about aliens now, so we're going to find out about aliens soon. Well, we'll see, but it wouldn't surprise me if the government came out and said, yep, they're here. Here's what they look like. We've known about them for this long. And everybody goes, huh, that's neat. And then keeps flipping through their channels.
Well, there's a number of reasons I could speculate as to why a lot of this stuff just kind of gets swept under the rug. And again, maybe it's because just everything is so sensational in the news now that going to the moon doesn't really seem that wild anymore. In 1969, we land on the moon, and that's a big deal. But, 57 years later, not so much a big deal because, well, people don't have time for that because they're, oh, we're bombing this country and gas prices are this and groceries that and then, oh, what about another outrageous scandal among politicians and just thing after thing after thing after thing that just keeps happening. And, stuff like that it's not as exciting because we send rockets to space all the time. Sure, not to the moon, but it's one of those things that, frankly, it used to be on all the networks whenever there was a space shuttle launch, right? Of course it got covered. We'd watch it when I was in school. We watched all of them. I mean, that's how we saw Challenger explode. But I mean, and even after Challenger, though, all the launches, it's a big deal. It was a huge deal. Now it's such a common thing. We just are like, okay, neat. Another launch.
Yeah, but it even surprised me, Mike, with that specific thing there, that we didn't even see a whole lot of activity around debunking that mission. Because the people who were debunking Apollo for the last, 50 or whatever years, you would think they would be trying to debunk this too, but even that was quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just, I don't know. The whole thing just struck me as so bizarre.
It is strange.
And again, almost its own conspiracy theory in a way. Why is this thing that would essentially prove or disprove something that people have held in doubt for so long just pretty much ignored?
Yeah, both sides, it seemed like, ignored it.
So I don't know. I think maybe we're just all exhausted from it all.
Maybe that's what it is. I mean, that might just be the simplest explanation there. It's one of those, people just have fatigue from all the different kind of stories. And so one thing kind of sounds like the other. Sure, to you and I, maybe not, but to the public at large, okay, moon landing, or orbiting the moon or going to Mars, that sounds like, another outrageous Trump press conference or bombing Iran or, another, nuclear missile test by North Korea or whatever. I mean, it all just kind of runs together. It all just comes into the background noise because you just keep getting hammered with it 24/7. And frankly, and this has just been one of those things that's documented too, fewer and fewer people pay attention to news.
That is true.
That is true.
So, with a smaller audience of people paying, and the people that generally do pay attention are, Gen X and older. Maybe the older side of the millennials, but I mean, the youths, not to say they don't follow any news, but a lot of their news, is compressed into it's in TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter X and all it's there. That's where they find it. It's they're not going to CNN, they're not going to MS Now or ABC, NBC, CBS, Drudge, whatever. They're not going to those places. They're going to their social media. And social media, a lot of these guys, it's centered around whatever it is that they're interested in. And generally speaking, not to say that not a single young person cares, but I mean, for the most part, it's not top of their mind.
Well, yeah, they're going to be shown what they care about, because and what interests them and what will keep them on the platform. That is where social media has totally screwed us over.
Yeah.
And maybe that's carrying into the conspiracy theory end of things too, and what people believe and don't believe and all of that. But you say they go there for news. They don't. They go there to be affirmed in their beliefs.
Well, yeah.
That's
I should
bottom
news
line.
in air quotes,
Yeah.
And that's, I guess that's kind of sad. I suppose it does make for, I don't know, more ignorant society, but maybe ignorance is bliss. I don't know. There's a couple of ways to look at that too, but that's how a lot of these conspiracy theories get going too, is because critical thinking, I think, is it may not be dead, but it's on life support,
Well, that's a good point. Again, Beth's end question was, how do you decide what is worth believing? And for me, it's giving it critical thought. So that's a good way to put it, because, if you go back to like the JFK thing, for example, if you look at it critically, there's just too much going on there, too many different holes in the story, too many different pieces of evidence to believe that beyond a shadow of a doubt, Oswald acted alone.
Yeah.
Taking the worst shot to do it.
Right. It just,
none of it makes sense.
None of it makes sense.
If you look at it critically, if you give it critical thought.
Now, I don't know what happened, but I know that what the official story was doesn't make sense. And if the old saying is, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true.
Yeah. There's
now,
all sorts of theories.
Yeah.
This one is never mentioned, but I'd seen it a few years ago, just real quick, because I find it interesting, is that he was actually accidentally killed by one of his own Secret Service agents. So the shots rang out and stuff. And there's a little bit in the film that, if you interpret it the right way, actually supports this. But there was an agent behind him who drew his weapon when he heard the shots. And the theory is, as he was drawing, the vehicle accelerated and it caused him to fire. And that was the kill shot that hit him and blew out his skull.
That's interesting.
And they think this because that agent has never been heard from since that day. He was like put in a hole somewhere. So
very strange.
Little side tangent, but again, there's questions like that if you look at it critically, you go, yeah, there's enough there that you need to answer a lot of questions for me to believe this. But who really gives things critical thought anymore?
And that's the issue.
Yeah. No, and so how do you decide what to believe, Beth? I think in the end, the answer is most people just choose not to believe anything, or they'll choose to believe the ridiculous because it's sensational and it shows up in their feeds.
Or some people are just trolling and they just like to make other people mad by saying, yeah, the earth is flat.
There's some of that too.
Yeah. Some of it, though, is, I would say, questionable to pass the sniff test or critical thinking test, but it actually still was true and has been proven true.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to talk about like CIA things, like MK Ultra, for example, is insane when you actually think about it.
Yeah.
And should never have happened, but it did, and there's proof.
Yeah. No, and then there's the inverse of things that did happen, and the conspiracy theory is that it never happened. See also Germany in the 1940s.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's people that believe that whole thing didn't even happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably even more bizarre because it's one of those things where there's so much overwhelming amount of evidence that it did to suggest that it didn't. Again, you either have to be trolling or you're just playing up to some fanatical base, or it's just your own hatred, that exists and it clouds your mind. I don't know. That's the only logical explanation for that.
How else would you get so many different governments that normally don't agree on anything to agree to the same story? that's where the fact that the non-believers don't pass the smell test to me, because like, since when is Russia and the United States both going to go, yep, same story, that's exactly what happened?
Right.
Well, it was part of the deal that they made when they divvied up the scientists.
Oh,
Yes.
I see. Okay.
See? And this is how conspiracy theories begin, just like that.
But
Mike
if nothing,
After
but
Dark.
if nothing,
I know
actually,
the light just there it goes.
but if nothing actually happened, then why did they have all those scientists that had all that knowledge?
Aliens. The scientists are aliens.
I see.
Gotta be.
See, it all circles around.
Okay.
All right. What else do you have for us regarding conspiracy theories? Because there's always a theme.
There is a
Yes.
theme.
I doubt you're going to have us talk about horses now.
And,
Nope.
and I'll try to fix that light.
All right.
All right. I'll give him a second to fix his light.
No, I can hear you. I still have my headphones.
Oh, okay.
I'm just fixing the light. It's
He's gonna
it's
multitask.
studio. It's live tech support or live repairs right here, just to get a stupid light to work. So anyway,
Coming
Don't
at you
let
from
that
Joe's
stop
House
you.
of Meth.
yes.
Yeah, if you want to help Mike upgrade his light technology, go to itbshow.com right now while we're taking a little bit of a break here, and leave us a donation, because that definitely helps. You can donate to us there. You can also pick up your own Joe's House of Meth t-shirt. And as well, if you're not already, you can sign up for the emails so you get Beth's show notes.
That is true.
itbshow.com. Check us out.
Okay.
And yeah, Mike needs a light upgrade, so hook him up.
Yeah.
I know. I know. We're on a ramen and peanut butter sandwich budget over here, folks. So
Have you considered setting the ramen on fire and using that as a light source?
ooh, you know what?
High caloric value. It
Actually-
should burn for a while.
No, peanut butter would burn even longer.
Yeah.
High fat.
See,
Peanut butter
you
would
have all
burn
the
forever.
tools, Michael.
Yes, I hadn't thought of that, and now that gives I could just do this show outside.
And that strategy aids in weight loss too, because there'll be less for you to eat.
Boy, and I could use the weight loss. So
See, we're solving problems here tonight.
All right. On that note, second cold topic. If we accept that some things aren't always what they seem, and that occasionally ideas that sound far-fetched turn out to have some truth behind them, then it makes sense that people might start to question more. Maybe they start looking a little closer. Maybe they stop taking things at face value. And on the surface, that doesn't seem like a bad thing. Skepticism, in a lot of ways, is what protects people from being misled. It's what pushes us to ask questions, to look for evidence, and to not just accept something because we're told it's true. But there's a point where that can start to shift. When questioning things doesn't just mean thinking critically, it starts to mean assuming there's always something hidden, always another motive, always something behind what you're being told. And at that point, it's no longer just skepticism. It starts to look more like cynicism. When truth isn't something that's evaluated, it's something that's withheld by default. So it raises a question. If skepticism is about asking questions and cynicism is about expecting the worst, where exactly is the line between the two? And maybe more importantly, how do you stay open-minded without sliding into a mindset where nothing feels trustworthy at all?
So you're asking where the line is.
Yes. Not like Friends, the line is a dot
I was just about
you.
to say the line is a dot. So we know this from our friends over at Friends.
I don't think he successfully fixed his light. He still looks very dark.
it's going dark. It's still on, but it's dimming. It's dimming. I don't know. That whole I'm just asking questions thing, like where people do that as sort of that kind of snarky, hey man, I'm just asking questions. It's weird. I do think that we should always ask. I mean, that's how anything should be. Religion. If you're not questioning your faith, then is it really faith at that point? If you're not questioning your beliefs, if you're, that's just, then you're just digging yourself in. You're just saying, it's just this way and that's all that it is. And if even a single question comes along and you go, I don't want to hear it, blah, 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 that is your faith really that strong? Is your belief system really that strong? If even a single question can cause you to have that kind of a reaction. So I think asking questions is always good. A degree of cynicism and skepticism is always good. You should always have an open mind, though. There is that balance. You need to have that ability to be open-minded enough to accept that, hey, what this person is saying is logical, and I should at least consider it, versus what that person is saying is just complete BS, and I'm not going to listen to it at all, and we're not going to even have a conversation, just shut it down. Now there's certain things it doesn't matter. I mean, certain things should be shut down. Certain things we shouldn't listen to. Racist bull crap, and there's all sorts of things that we don't need to listen to. But
like the radio in the background,
like the phone ringing. Yes, all of that.
Never listen to that.
Yeah, but that's where I'm at. I mean, it is a fine line. It's a razor's edge to walk, Dan.
It would have been funnier if his ringtone was Dark Side of the Moon. I'm just saying.
Right.
Anyway.
That would have been great. I'm going to push back. You said that there's certain things we shouldn't listen to. And like racism, for example. I think we should listen. I don't think we should believe or buy in. If you're not listening to it and you're ignoring it, then how do you fight back on it? Because it's kind of the same thing you were saying about if your faith isn't challenged so that you can strengthen it, then how strong is your faith really? That would go to the belief in things like racism, for example. If you're strongly against it, if you're not challenged and you're not fighting back against it, then how strong is your belief? How strong are your morals? I think you have to listen to everything. You don't have to follow it, but I don't think you can just brush things off and go, yeah, whatever, and walk away.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to, it's like the hate comments on the videos and stuff. I mean, some things I'm not going to listen to them. I mean, after a while, because it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like some of the people that just say, you're ugly, you're stupid. Like it's like, I get it. I'm ugly and I'm stupid. I understand that. Or
I'm not saying you have to respond to every single thing.
Right.
But I don't know if it makes sense to just completely ignore something either.
Well, I don't know. Certain things to me are just, my brain just kind of naturally tunes them out. I mean, someone screaming racial epithets or someone that just says, this group is all bad or whatever, and I'm using an extreme example on purpose, but I mean, those kinds of things, I'm pretty comfortable tuning out. Now, that doesn't mean, and I want to make this clear because, I mentioned people like Alex Jones earlier and there's people that get banned off of social media and I'm not for banning any sort of speech or, removing those people from society. I think you should allow them to have a forum so that the mindset, and so that instead of hiding in the shadows and being racist or bigoted or sinister in the shadows, they're out in the open. I'm all for that. But yeah, I think for the most part, when it comes to discourse, there's just certain things I'm not going to really tolerate.
I'm not saying you should tolerate it. I'm also saying you shouldn't ignore it. Beth is talking about the line between skepticism and cynicism. And I think both can be fed by relying on constant reinforcement of your feed, of the things you want to see, of your beliefs, of all of that. You have to have things that constantly challenge you, even when they aren't things that you approve of, because at the end of the day, steel sharpens steel. And I don't know. I personally, I find it makes me better when I confront things that I wholeheartedly disbelieve in, rather than just going, yeah, whatever, and walking away.
Yeah.
And I think it makes me more well-rounded. Obviously I have an extreme amount of skepticism towards what they're trying to tell me, but I'm not going to just poo-poo it either.
Well, I don't poo-poo everything. I mean, there's certain things that I'm always willing to listen to constructive criticism or things that challenge beliefs that are done in a logical way. It's just when it comes at you from like the ad hominem or from a sensationalist, ridiculous point, I have a hard time really taking that seriously. But I'm always willing to listen to a logical, well thought out discussion. I think that's really an important thing to do. I don't think we should shut that out, even if it is something that totally disagrees with what we believe. It's just like when I have a discussion with people about religion. Yeah, I'm an agnostic. What is agnostic? Agnostic, it's not knowing. It's not atheism. People confuse the two. Which means I'm here to listen to whatever someone has to say about a faith, about a religion, about a belief, because I'm willing to hear it. I just haven't heard anything that completely convinces me, and that gets me over to a side, so to speak, But that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to listen.
This is a tangent from our tangent, but you never will. You will never hear something that 100% convinces you.
Well, I'm not even saying 100%.
That is the whole definition of faith, my friend.
Well, but I mean, and I'm not asking for, well, maybe, I mean, I'd love to see, I'd love to see proof. I'd love to see proof beyond reasonable doubt, right? But
I mean, look, we know the super devil. We know that.
The jar of marmalade, the motorcycle.
And the marmalade.
Yes.
This week we've had visual proof. So, so you can believe in that, but the rest of it does require a leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's my damn science mind that just requires me to at least have, some stuff to build on. And that's where I'm at, I guess. And I it's not just from a religious standpoint that I consider myself agnostic. I'm that way about a lot of things. Yeah. I like to you start from a neutral position, a position of, zero, and then build evidence that, kind of convinces me that something is or is not. And I don't know. It's just a scientific approach to things.
Well, wouldn't that scientific agnostic approach tie very well into the last thing we were talking about with conspiracy theories and kind of what to believe and what not to believe?
Sure.
Kind of goes hand in hand.
It does.
It'd be a very good approach to it. I mean, like, again, with JFK, with the moon, with things like that, I don't know what to believe. So, give me evidence.
Right.
And let me sort it out.
Yeah, and it's got to be something that makes sense, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. In most cases, it doesn't have to be this overwhelming, oh my God, it's a gotcha, and it's right there, it's black and white. I just need the dots kind of connected, and I can connect the last couple of dots. If you take me up, close enough, I can get the rest of the way there myself, generally speaking.
Preponderance of the evidence in TCF talk?
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I need beyond a reasonable doubt. Sometimes I just need preponderance. Sometimes I just need a little bit more than not. I just need that small tip of the scale. Sometimes I need an overwhelming amount. It just depends on what it is. So that's how it is. So, but I do believe that I think, we talk about critical thinking, Dan. I think critical thinking has been lost.
Yeah.
And I think that part of critical thinking is the balance of skepticism, being able to say, that doesn't make sense, but also looking at why it doesn't make sense or why something could happen. What stories sound believable? What stories comport with the facts of whatever it is that you're talking about? And I think that's why so many people are so willing to just believe anything that anybody says to them these days. And why, so much, even more now than ever, the people are able to fall for scams and all sorts of crazy stuff is because, part of it is people are not skeptical. They think that it's something, somebody's going to just, in 1999, we had the Nigerian prince scam on AOL, right? Where you get the message and a Nigerian prince is, got a $1.5 million for you. And all you have to do is send over a $5,000 transfer fee and da-da-da-da-da. And how stupid does that sound? But now it's all in cryptocurrencies and it's, all you have to do is surrender this or go onto this website or just click this link. Happiness today. It's like, so,
yeah.
But people are, and sometimes, and those are obvious examples, right? But there's a lot of times where it's a lot less obvious. There's a lot of catfishing schemes and there's a lot of very subtle schemes out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that are big time influencers on social media that are able to use that trust that they build with their audience or the fact that they're entertaining and they make us laugh or they do funny things. So of course we're going to believe some product that they sell or, we think that AI has advanced to this point where you can buy a plushie online that's going to clean your house for you, and it only costs $39.95, and that's almost a real thing, by the way. I mean, these AI ads that they show you for these, like, it's a super intelligent plushie or whatever, and it's got a vocabulary of 800,000 words, and it'll talk. It's better for you than your wife, which may or may not be true, but
In reality, it's just
it's just a damn one of these squishmallows, and someone put a voice box in it that says like 3 things, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, Dan. I don't know. It's I guess that's my point. We just lost the critical thinking. I think that's kind of where the conversation's at. For me,
I agree. So we got off on a little bit of a tangent, but we've got a few minutes left. Do you want to reframe us, Beth?
Well, I was just going to rewind a little bit on what Michael had said when you were talking about preponderance of evidence and whatnot. Isn't it completely impractical, though, to expect to be able to verify everything personally? Because even what you learned in school, you just accepted it at face value. You learned that 1 + 1 = 2. You learned that certain explorers did certain things. And the only proof you were given was a textbook. You didn't see the original documents. You didn't actually verify any of that yourself, but you still believed it.
Well, I think we believed it because we were taught by, a higher authority, so to speak. Teachers, as children, we it's our belief that teachers know more than we do, and they should. And that textbooks are, that's what we learn from. That's the document that as 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids, we learn from that.
But wouldn't a priest who has gone to seminary and done extensive training then also have a higher intelligence or a higher understanding of religion to then have you believe what they were saying? I mean, by that same logic.
Sure.
I'm just
They
pushing back.
Right. They would have you believe it. Now, of course, what happens when we grow up is that we learn that some of the stuff that was in those textbooks was bullshit. You know, Columbus, a lot of the stories that we learned about Christopher Columbus were bull crap. I mean, it's just, and then, you know, a lot of stuff that people tell you, and, you know, not everything is as it seems. And so with that logic, I mean, yeah, you know, then you start to think, well, was everything I was taught as a child BS? Was, because, you know, I went to Sunday school, right? I mean, I was, we went to church every week. We, you know, did Sunday school. I asked too many questions, so they were like, don't come back. I was, you know, I wasn't, it's not just 48-year-old Mike that's a jerk. I was 8-year-old Mike and I was a jerk. So, you know, it's I've had a long history of being an ass, but that's, I don't know. I've always just been the kind of person to ask a lot of questions. So,
Yeah.
Even in school, you know, I was like, well, how do we know this? And then they're like, well, just go to the library and you'll find out. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's all right. I'll go do that. I was hoping you would be able to tell me, but all right, I'll go do that.
That's fair. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words now. No, I really am. Yeah.
Well, okay. How about we were talking about cynicism?
I just don't know how to respond to him.
So, do you think it's possible that for some people being cynicistic? That's not a word. What's the
Cynical?
word there?
Being a cynic.
Yes,
cynical.
thank you.
Cynicalisticism
makes them feel more informed even if they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'd buy into that.
So, I mean, we're sitting here discussing this saying critical thinking is lost, but I'm sure there's other people who believe all this weird stuff that we don't believe that are sitting there probably thinking the same thing about us, that we're just not thinking it through the right way.
Well, that's where discussion has to come in, doesn't it? Which is one of the things that this show models is discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we try to model over on TCF, and I think in a different way, Mike tries to model over on his channel too.
Yeah.
Is being able to talk about things. And discussion isn't always pretty or smoothly flowing either. I mean, just a couple of minutes ago, I'm like, I don't even know what to say.
Well, yeah.
You know, so
well,
but I think
pushed back on Michael a little bit.
But I think people expect it to be. And because they expect, I don't know if they expect, they want things to be easy. That's part of the problem. Is discussion is hard.
It is.
And having back and forths is difficult. And, you know, we kind of take it up a notch here because we don't even know what we're going to talk about until we start talking. So that really adds to the difficulty level. But we do it because we like to be challenged. And I think it puts on a better example for people. But, you know, it's not easy enough for people, I guess, to actually talk things out in a world where everything is handed to you, it would seem. And, you know, there's soon, according to so many, will be handed everything because the robots will do everything, which we proved this morning is not the case.
That's, yep.
But that's the hope. So I think just people don't want to be challenged anymore.
Real quick, I was just going to say too, we didn't really get to this aspect of it, but the other thing when you are trying to have a proper discussion or banter or back and forth with an idea, is that a lot of people aren't able to separate their own opinion and their thoughts from the emotional side of it. And I think for a lot of people, that's the biggest downfall in conversation, because you can't successfully have a conversation if you're just going to get pissed off and walk away when somebody says something you disagree with. But that we see that happen all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is so true.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think that's one of, even if it's not just critical thinking, which is a huge problem, but I think the separation of your own personal emotions and being able to have a conversation is very much a lost art form.
Yeah. Well, if you want proof of that, go over to TCF on that video where we talked about Judge Boyd and look at the comments section.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is either pissed off to no end that she is leaving the bench, or they're overjoyed, and neither side actually wants to break it down and go, well, what did she do right? And what did she do wrong? And what are some of the reasons why maybe she did get voted out? And what are some of the reasons why maybe she should stay? It's just we're hunkered down in our positions, and that's that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, that's really, and that's where we get not just in all aspects of our life, I guess, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get stuck into this one mindset. And if it's challenged, some people just lose their minds. I mean, the Judge Boyd thing is a great example. I was thinking, Dan, when we were talking about the moon, you did that on, I remember months ago, we were talking about the moon on TCF on the pre-show.
Yeah.
All pissed off.
A couple people left. They were like, that's not true. There's no gases on Earth. There's nothing that doesn't happen. Nope. And it's like, well, all you would have had to do is a simple Google search, man.
They left and they never came back.
Yeah.
And it
wasn't controversial.
No,
this wasn't
actually true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even conspiracy tinfoil hat. Yeah.
It's amazing what sometimes sets people off. Like I can have these, in my old live show days, I used to have these deep political discussions, and people would get mad, but sometimes I'd say the most innocuous comment and people would freak out.
Oh yeah.
And I saw that with Dan in the movie. He's like, well, just, cause gravity is like 1/6 of Earth, but there is a very, very thin atmosphere and there's gases in the moon. And this guy was like, there he's not, mate. There's no gases on the moon. What are you talking about? He's lost his mind. So.
And this was a guy who was on the pre-show a couple of weeks prior.
Yeah. He was like your second subscriber or something like that after yourself. It's like you beat Beth for subscription.
He did.
The second dude. I was like, what is going on? And he was like all friendly, and he threw it all away because of a comment that was easily researchable about the moon of all the damn things.
You just have to laugh.
Yeah.
Weird world.
It is.
Speaking of laughter, let's do the true false.
Yes.
So here's how this works, friends. We have 5 true false questions that Beth has come up with. We get 3 minutes for her to read us the question, then for us to debate and lock in whether or not it's true or false in our minds. And then on certain occasions, I'll throw things at my wife for what she comes up with.
Yep.
Now that having been said, we do not condone domestic violence here.
No.
Be clear on that.
Michael's choking.
Well, because I still have, so my cough now is it's mostly gone, but when I laugh, I get the old man cough.
Love it.
It's too much laughter on this show.
No, it's good.
Okay, you guys.
You know what I love about this show more than anything? I mean, us having the conversations is great, but I like that we can really laugh here.
Yes.
Because what we do in the mornings, it's not as much laughter. We try to have
Yeah.
fun, but it's a lot more serious.
Well, this is
Child
serious
abuse,
too,
so funny.
Ha
What a.
This is serious too, but it's serious with a twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys are gonna like these, I think. So.
All right. Twist us up. Go. Number 1.
All right. Humans can naturally smell when rain is coming because of changes in the air. I think Michael will have opinions on this one.
Well, yeah, weatherman.
Yeah. Before, and I was about to say the word. There's a actual name for that smell. Before rain, and as moisture comes down and dust is lofted, and that smell, so that there's rain coming. And so, yeah, that's a real thing. I just don't remember the name for it. I don't know. My science brain is worn out. I don't know. It's,
I was going to say, Carolyn just put it in the chat, ozone. Does some of it have to do with like the ionization of the air as the fronts are moving in?
Well, that wasn't what I was thinking about. It's I get caught up on a term, but there's a lot of different things that happen that we don't even realize, that kind of alert us to the fact that rain's coming. And the animals, they know it before we do. But yeah, that smell alone is just a sign that it's out there. And of course, sometimes nothing happens, but yeah, that's anybody that lives, especially here in the desert, you know that smell.
Here's my problem with this whole question. It's too obvious. Humans can smell rain coming. Well, I'll go, well, yeah, because we've all said it smells like rain. But does it smell like it before or after? We'll definitely say it smells like it rained.
Well, I've smelled it before. And again, there's a term, and I just wish, I'm sure Beth, maybe she has it, but I don't know. I blanked on it, and that's the problem. But as far as I know, that's true, because I've observed it myself, but I also know there's a real scientific thing behind it, but I can't remember it now.
All right, so you're true?
Yes.
I'm going to go false because I feel like it's a trick question.
Okay, before I tell you what it is, Michael, was petrichor the word you were thinking of?
Yes.
Okay. It is false.
Ha! Told you it's too easy.
But it feels completely true. What you're actually smelling isn't the rain coming. It's rain that has already hit somewhere nearby. The scent, petrichor, comes from oils released from plants and compounds from the soil, bacteria, when moisture hits the ground. So you're not predicting rain. You're detecting that it's already happening somewhere nearby.
But if it hasn't happened for you, but it's nearby, that means it hasn't happened for you yet. So it's technically coming.
Yeah, but you could smell. Yeah, but listen, that means it's always, if you're saying I can smell when rain is coming, that means that it is 100% for sure going to rain in your area, but you can smell if it's rain nearby. Again, you're a weatherman. How often in the desert are they like, oh, it's going to rain, and then nothing? You get nothing, not even a drop. But you could go down the street and there's like floods and people can't drive their cars. And so there's a difference if you're talking about the actual location that you are presently in versus a location nearby you.
I suppose that's one of those kind of splitting hairs, but I don't
think it's splitting hairs. I think we're talking about like an actual legitimate, like,
Dad's gonna go get dinner.
Yeah, place in.
I just love listening to you two go back and forth because I don't have to be a part of it for once. So keep
For
going.
once.
No, I mean, you're talking about like a actual geological location and saying that you can smell that rain is coming to that location, but it doesn't mean that rain is actually coming to that location.
Well, right. I guess it means.
Yeah, see, right.
It doesn't mean that it's always going to happen, but it means
but that was the question.
It means your question is like 100% going to happen.
Well, the question was humans can naturally smell when rain is coming because of changes in the air.
You said is and not might be.
So if I said,
told you it was just if I said, easy.
Michael, I'm coming over, and you're like, okay, but then I never showed up, you would assume that I was actually
you'd be like most
over.
of my friends. I mean that's I expect that. That's happens all the time. What are you talking about? There's no such thing as is or 100%. Feel like Bill Clinton. The definition of is Hillary.
Oh, by the way, just to add a little weird in there, the smell, the petrichor smell, is actually a scent that they use in fragrances, like high-end perfumes and colognes. So if you get one that has like a scent of rain or something like that, that is actually a oil that they are using.
Nina, Beth tricked the weather guy. He.
I mean,
you did say yeah. You agreed with me.
Not exactly, but
yeah. Okay, we'll cut that clip. I heard you.
All right. And this is how strong friendships are forged.
Yes,
it is.
All right, number 2.
Yeah,
no, you're wrong. I'm getting out of here.
Exactly.
The moon gases. Right, mate. Crikey. I'm not saying who it was that did that, but it might have been from Australia.
Might have been.
Not that he was or is from Australia.
His name might have rhymed with Bo. Anyway.
It might have.
Yeah.
It might have rhymed with Bo. And he might have been from Australia. And he might have called me mate once.
Yeah.
He's very friendly.
Yep.
Until he wasn't. All right. Ready?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for you guys to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no.
The CIA once developed a weapon designed to cause a heart attack without leaving detectable evidence.
I think Billy Joel sang about it. Heart attack, you ought to know by now.
You ought to know by now. Yeah.
I'll say that's true.
Yeah.
That's true because, again, not conspiracy, but it just sounds. They've done a lot of other experimental weapons that we've found out, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, that sounded weird or bizarre or whatever, but we have found out since were true or at least experimental. Mm-hmm. So,
There's that whole Havana syndrome thing, which they think is probably caused by microwaves. There's whatever the hell they used when they went and got Maduro, where people were like bleeding out of their eyes and ears and stuff. It was some kind of sonic weapon that nobody has ever seen before, but that was surgical, man. They knocked out like everybody.
Yeah, and I'd heard about that.
On his door and took him.
Yep. I'd heard about that kind of sonic weapon technology on the old conspiracy shows back in the 90s. But I believe that because, I had a neighbor that used sonic weapons all the time. I mean, you just blast that music until like 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I totally buy that.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen, man, Barbara Streisand will drive anybody out. You'll bleed from the eyes and ears after that, for sure.
And that's how HOAs came to be.
Yep.
I'm true.
Yeah.
We locked in at true.
True.
True. It sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, but it's real. During the 1970s, the CIA developed a dart gun that could inject a tiny toxin designed to trigger a heart attack. The dart itself was made completely out of ice, meaning it would melt after impact and leave almost no trace behind. And
That's
the whole
cool.
point was exactly what it sounds like.
Get what I said there? That's cool.
Yeah.
Ah,
So the idea was a death that looked completely natural. So
Nice to see you.
this was one of those conspiracy theory type things that didn't age well. It came out during the church committee hearings. If anybody follows along with some of that and knows what that is.
The what hearings? I was
Church
coughing.
committee.
Oh, yeah.
In the 70s.
Yep.
The toxin, by the way, was actually oh, now it's Dan's phone making noise. We're just all about interruptions tonight. The toxin was derived from a shellfish.
What a shellfish thing to do.
Right?
Sounds fishy to me.
Yes. And we like the interruptions because it proves that we're live, real people, not AI.
Yes.
That is true.
No AI slop here, my friends.
Nope.
Just good conversation right outside of Joe's house of meth.
Apparently, I'm the
Absolutely.
only one who thinks when they're doing a live show to put their phone on mute, though.
Well,
You know, my phone is never on mute because half the time while I'm doing my morning show, you're texting me. So
Not
I
half
can't
the
have it
time.
on silent. You're right, 3/4 of the time.
Okay.
Yes.
now I get to sit back and listen.
All right.
Oh,
What are we- number
God.
3?
Yes, we're
Oh.
on number three.
All right. Go.
Eating sugar causes children to become hyperactive and more energetic.
False. I think that's an old wives' tale told by old wives. Children process sugars differently from adults.
Yeah.
I've seen our son take down tremendous amounts of sugar over the years in a single sitting, and he is no more energetic or less energetic than before he took it down.
Yeah. I for some it is probably true, but that is not a universal thing.
Yeah, because I think kids burn it faster. They can handle those sugars better than adults. When by the
Yeah.
time you get to adult, if your body's doing what it's supposed to do and you're letting it do what it's supposed to do, you're eating fats that your body is naturally converting into the sugars that it needs.
Yeah.
Not trans fats, good fats. I'm false.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'd
I
say
need any more time on this one. You?
Nope.
All right,
Same thing. False.
Okay, so the whole old wives' tale thing is true. But what happens
No,
is
So it's the false.
yes, it's false.
Okay, thank you.
The old wives' tale part is
Okay.
true. That
Alright.
it's okay,
Okay.
sorry. It happens because parents see their kids bouncing around off the walls after they've eaten sugar. But they've actually done controlled scientific studies where some children are given sugar and some aren't. And their parents are supposed to respond if their child was given sugar. And what happens is when they see their children, acting hyper, bouncing off the walls, they assume that the sugar was given. The problem is most of the time when kids are eating a lot or excess amounts of sugar, it has to do with the situation. If you think about it, kids eat sugar at holidays, at parties, at gatherings, lots of stuff going on. People are over, so you're not paying attention to what your kid's like grabbing from the kitchen. All of those things play into it. And that's what actually is causing the hyperactivity, is the overstimulation of everything going on around the child, not just the sugar itself.
So what happens with adults with sugar then? We just get fat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That's also true.
Yeah, say that explains a great many things.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Number 4.
Uh-huh.
Go.
There are research facilities where scientists study how human bodies decompose by leaving them outside in different conditions.
Dead bodies?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not talking about we're not talking about that unit, whatever it was in Japan.
No.
Unit 731, I think it was.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like things that the Nazis did.
I was going to say, the Germans. Well, let's see what happens if we leave this one out in the rain. Yeah.
The Japanese were worse in a lot of ways. They would like take a person and they'd stick their arm through a hole in the wall and it's freezing outside. They'd let the arm freeze and then take a hammer to it just to see how it would break off of the rest of their body. Stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fun.
And this, so we're talking about bodies decomposing outside in various conditions. This is also how they make soy sauce.
Not from human bodies.
No, but with fish. So I hope that these facilities are fairly separated, because I'd hate for this to become a Soylent Green situation.
I was going to say, soy sauce is made of people. Yeah, I again, I would say this is true because humans are just generally evil. I mean, yeah, they're dead bodies, so I guess it's not as evil, but it's still kind of, it's on the evil continuum.
Great Granny, good talk, Dan.
We have way too much fun on this show. We really do.
We do. Yeah, this feels true to me.
Yeah, it does to me as well. Let's put this one in the sun with mayonnaise on it. Yeah.
Like, I just had a flashback of Monday when
Sauerkraut.
he was eating his ham sandwich. Anyway,
All right, we're true.
yeah, okay. It is true.
Of course
And it sounds like something out of a crime show. There's facilities, and they exist in the United States too. They're literally called body farms, where donated human bodies are placed in different environments, buried, exposed, submerged, so researchers can study how decomposition actually happens. And then it's used for forensic science, like estimating times of death in real investigations. So yeah, it's creepy, and it's definitely on the weird.
How many bodies do we need to figure out how things decompose? I mean, haven't we kind of figured out the decomposition aspect of things down to a science now? I mean,
They still exist. I have links. And some of them you can even like tour.
Need to do more tests. Come on, man. I mean, it sounds kind of macabre. I don't know.
The first facility in the U.S. was founded in Tennessee in the 1980s.
Okay, guys, you've had 40 years to play with dead bodies. I mean,
body farms. They're called body farms, literally.
Nina pointed that out just as you were saying it in the chat, so she knew.
Oh, the body farms or the Tennessee part?
No, the body farms.
Yeah.
Tennessee is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, body farms. Yeah. You go to Lynchburg.
Country music.
You go to Lynchburg, where, the home of Jack Daniels. It's a dry county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't actually buy liquor there, except you are allowed to buy one bottle at the distillery gift shop.
But you can't open it.
But you can't open it. Weird place.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that dry counties still exist in this country is in of itself is weird.
Yes, that is also true.
I agree.
But yeah, there's a link to the body farm in Tennessee in the notes if anybody is that interested. Sign up.
itbshow.com. Sign up for the emails. You'll get the show notes shortly after we are done here.
All the
And
weird
we have
and
one
macabre
question
stuff.
left.
Yes.
All right. Number 5 is always interesting.
It is.
Heaven
on
help
purpose.
us go.
There have been documented cases of people waking up from injury or illness, suddenly speaking a completely new language fluently.
I have heard this. The question is, was it real or is it a conspiracy theory?
Well, that's part of the reason I put this question in this episode.
I think it was on an episode of House once. And they ruled
Roadhouse.
out the idea that it might have been lupus.
Yes, it was not lupus.
It was not lupus.
I mean, I've heard of the phenomena. I would say I don't know how true it is. I know I even on like Unsolved Mysteries or whatever, I know I've heard about that. I think that's probably the first place I heard about it.
I want to say that people have woken up with like musical talents and stuff too.
Yes, but just for clarification, that wasn't the question.
I know.
Okay.
I know what your question was. I'm trying to expand upon the discussion for a minute. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Awkward silence. Michael doesn't want to say anything. He's like,
it's one of those things. You just let that marinate a little bit.
like the dead bodies.
Well, so we just let this one sit out. We didn't do anything to this one. We just let it sit out there till September. See what happens.
If they put up wireless cams and live streamed it, they'd probably make a fortune. They wouldn't need government grants.
We put pickles and sauerkraut on this one. This one we put this one. We dipped this one in beer.
YouTube.com/body farm.
Yeah, body farms. We had this one sitting next to some Francis Connor. Yeah, very good. Yeah. This one kind of turned into a bratwurst. Yeah. Looked very tasty.
Okay. So did they wake up and they could speak fluent like German or something?
The dead bodies?
No, the question.
Was hast du dieses Wochenende gemacht?
He was doing his German.
So that's the question. If they put these bodies out on the body farms and they season them with like a certain like leaning, like season it Italian or Spanish, like a good paella or something like that, little saffron. Does it then wake up as a zombie speaking the language of its seasoning?
We got all the way through the 3 minutes and no one gave me an answer. I love it.
It's true.
I'm going to say it's true.
It's false.
Okay.
This one sounds like it's real, but it's not. There are stories that have been passed around, but they're exaggerated. There's rare cases where people after a brain injury or illness might repeat words or phrases from another language, mimic sounds they've heard before, or develop what's called foreign accent syndrome, where their speech sounds different, but they're not actually speaking a new language fluently. They're not forming new vocabulary, grammar, or understanding. So people aren't just waking up and suddenly speaking fluent Spanish or German or French. It's a mix of neurological changes and storytelling filling in the gaps.
Hey,
so they don't wake up.
I've been asleep for a while, man. What is going on? Like, what happened? You've been in a coma for 6 weeks. A coma? What the fuck is going on with that, man? This is crazy, Holmes.
So they don't wake up. They don't wake up speaking Cajun or Creole or whatever it is down there, but they wake up sounding like Coach Bouillon from The Waterboy.
That is possible, yeah.
Okay.
That is what foreign
accent. That's called aphasia, by the way.
No, that's not aphasia.
I say, sir, I've been asleep for a while. What is happening here? My name is Alistair Wellington III. Yes.
Story about a bridge.
Right.
Yes, let me give you a little story here. Story time, yes. I don't know. I definitely heard about the foreign accent thing. But
yeah, but wouldn't it be crazy if people just suddenly woke up and they were like Duolingo certified?
Yeah. Speaking in tongues.
It's a nice shortcut, honestly. You got to cram for that French final.
Yeah.
Just go into a coma for a couple of weeks.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yes.
And we actually got 2 shows done in a week for the first time in a while, so that's nice.
Yes.
To continue that trend.
And we also went over on time, just like we've been doing.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's the whole idea. All right. This was so much fun. We'll do it again on Monday.
Yep. Monday.
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And you can find me tomorrow over at the Courtroom Files, youtube.com/at the Courtroom Files. There's links for all this stuff here on this channel, though. You can find Mike over at his channel where he does the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion. And that's super cool. Even if you are not from Phoenix, you need to subscribe to Michael's channel. Number one, because he needs more subscribers, because he needs to be discovered, because he's really good at what he does. And number two, because I said so.
Well, thanks, Dan.
So subscribe to Michael, even if you're not already, and even if you don't care about Phoenix weather, because he has the voice that you just need to listen to, regardless of what he's talking about.
That is true. And you two will be on Sidebar tomorrow, right?
Yes, we have
Sidebar tomorrow night.
Bar, whatever we're calling
in the bar.
In the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tomorrow night over on the Courtroom Files channel, or TCF as we call it. So find us there as well.
Often imitated, never duplicated. TCF.
You know it. Yeah. What were we up to? 27 different imposter channels.
There's about that, yes.
At the Courtroom Files, at the Courtroom Files _ at the _ courtroom _ files 47. It's crazy. All right, friends. We will again see you on Monday, and we'll see you on our other channels tomorrow. So take care. Thanks. Bye.
Bye everybody.